Hello, fellow reader. My name is Salik, and this is Show Me Your Shelfie. Today, I'm going to be talking about Wren The Wren by Enright. This book was published in 2023, and it received the highest, the very best ratings off of LitHub's Bookmarks. Bookmarks by LitHub is a aggregate, and they do a Rotten Tomatoes style ranking, pulling in all these different professional reviews. So professional critical reviews, we're talking about the New Yorker, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Guardian, so there's some British ones in there. They read the reviews, they give it a ranking. This was the most reviewed and the highest reviewed book of all of 2023, despite not being on like the Booker list. So what's it about? This book is a family saga told by 3 generations of the McDarrahs. It's set in Ireland, and the youngest is the daughter, Nell. Nell is a recent graduate, and she kind of idolizes her semi-famous Irish poet grandfather, who, although she never met him, I think he passed away before she was born, she kind of has him in her mind as she pursues a career in literature, or as a writer. I think she starts off and she's doing someone's tweet, so she's creating content for social media. It's being narrated by 3 different people, and the second person that's being narrated is by her mother, Carmel. Carmel is, in my opinion, hysterical. She's very funny. She's kind of a independent, no-nonsense woman. She is there to be a good mother, and nothing will stop her from doing this job. So, maybe a little overbearing. If you have an overbearing mother, I think, who loves you very much, you will, relate to some of that. There's a portion in the book where Nell is wanting some space and doesn't want to see her mother, and she makes the mistake of saying she's sick. And the mother says, "I'll be right over, I'm making you soup, I'm doing all these things." And it's just like, oh no. So aside from kind of like the current, the modern take, there's portions where you're going back in time to learn more about Carmel and kind of how she became this, tiger mom. And it talks about how her father left her and her sister and her mother when she was young. I think she was 11 or 12. And he left them right when the mom was fighting breast cancer. He finds out that she has breast cancer and he takes off. So here's this famous poet, and dealing with sick woman and 2 daughters just really isn't conducive to all the imagination and the freedom that he needs and the kind of lifestyle that he wants to be this great poet. So he goes off and he travels and he ends up in America, and a lot of the book is dealing with kind of the space left by a father. What happens? Carmel dealing with and living with this space left by a parent who abandons them, and what their relationship is with their father, and what does it mean to have a parent who is celebrated by the outside world. Everybody else thinks they're just so great, and the inside world is that they've done something so traumatizing and selfish and narcissistic. And there's one tiny slim portion of the book that's being narrated by Phil, the grandfather. It's trying to give you, I think, his perspective. I don't think it justified it, and I don't think Enright was trying to justify it. I'll also mention about this book the very thin plot. So it is not a plot-driven book. The thin, tiny plot kind of revolves around Nell's relationship. So she gets into a very typical millennial relationship that, if you have done any online dating or have ever dated somebody, and there's all these online presence, people have online presence, and if you don't have access to the actual person, but you have access to their online person and all the mind fuckery that goes around with that. People who dated in the 2000s, you'll be able to relate. And just, you're watching Nell's relationship kind of like this, as it starts off kind of normal and then dissolves into something really yicky, and then how she kind of overcomes that. And of course her mom is there in the background and being kept from some of that stuff. But I almost forgot to mention that Enright wrote a lot of poetry. So you're reading the book and you're reading this poetry that supposedly Phil's poetry, and it kind of breaks up the narrative. I enjoyed it immensely, but I will say, in the beginning, because it's romantic poetry, I really felt like it was kind of heart-piercing and like romantic, romantic, 1800s, early 1900s romantic. And then as the book goes on, you start feeling like, maybe like you feel when you're listening to a romance song by John Mayer, like do you really know? Are you a good person to be talking to me about romance and romantic love and deep love? I don't know. And so it feels, all right. So as far as like a breakdown of kind of how I would rank this book. So for a book review breakdown, I would say character 5 stars. I loved spending time with these wonderful ranting women. 3-star for plots. Again, it's not a plot-driven novel. Despite that, I would say the pacing is a 5. So that's unusual. Usually if it's not a plot-driven novel, then the pacing is off. But because we're breaking up between Carmel and Nell, I was never really ready to say goodbye to the one character. When Nell's portion was over, I was like, no, I would like to hear more from Nell. And then I would start reading Carmel's, piece, and I would not be quite ready to be done with Carmel when it was time for Nell. And then of course there was the breaking up with the poetry. So plot is a 3, pacing is a 5, the setting is Ireland, of course. The style is 5, we've got the poetry, we've got the rants, we've got these characters who are very believable. So style-wise, great. Lots of pieces where you could kind of read out loud to yourself or reread. And then the capital T truth, talking about the, artists versus family life and versus loss and abandonment, and the way children just love their parents, and the way that loss and that abuse stays with us and lives in us. Anyway, I really thought there was a lot of interesting truths, big truths in this book. And as far as fun, was it fun? Yes. Read one of the rants. They're fantastic. They're funny. So I think, so 5, and then a 3, 4.7 on Goodreads. I'll round it up to a 5 score. I just loved this slim love story, not a romantic love story, but it was a love story between a mother and a daughter. So this book qualifies for a Ann-uary book challenge. Ben Reads Goods is doing a book challenge, and for the month of January, he wanted people to read a book by an Ann, and I read an excellent book by an Ann. I recommend it. Let me know if you read a Ann book in the month of January, if you're participating in the Ben Reads Goods Challenge, or if you read another wonderful book. Comment your favorite book of January below. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.